Hello and welcome to Burli. This video you're about to see will show you some of the main functions that are used on a daily basis. The window you see on the screen now is the interface, and much like other Windows applications, a lot of actions can be performed simply by the drag and drop feature, which makes Burli very easy to use. Let's start by looking at the panel on the left here. It is what we call the filter tree. It classifies all the news and information sources, whether it's in the format of NewsML, RSS feeds, Newswire, emails, faxes, and even social networks like Twitter. Burli is all about aggregating the information you need. Both you and your fellow journalists or editors will find it extremely helpful to have a complete list of information sources. In addition, resources can be easily shared between different locations through direct network connections. In other words, someone at a workstation in Vancouver can see all the in-queue data of other bureaus in different cities, such as London, Mumbai, New York, or Washington. This way, news stories, faxes, and other important materials of all the bureaus can then be conveniently accessible and shared amongst themselves. But of course, what and how much that is shared must be agreed upon by both parties in advance. The top half of the screen is called the in-queue. Basically, it is the central repository of all the stories in your newsroom, including all the newswire items, audio feeds, emails, faxes, and so on. Items here appear in chronological order, with the most recent at the top. You may click on the titles to see the content on the right, and on the top right-hand corner, you will find the timestamp of the item you're currently looking at. There are also new materials coming in as we speak. You might have already noticed the scrolling ticker tape down at the very bottom of the screen. You may also scroll them manually and click on the ones you like to view in full page. The urgent ones will be highlighted in red to catch your attention. Items in the in-queue are shared within the network and are read-only. Any editing must be done in the local work folder, which takes us down to the bottom half of the screen. You can do all of your text editing in this area just as you would in Microsoft Word using the same basic editing functions that you're familiar with. Oftentimes you would see paragraphs you like to use, say from a news article or from the built-in web browser even. All you need to do is simply copy and paste the text onto your work area here. If there is an audio associated with this item, you can also click on this audio holder to listen to it.
Fighting has been going on in Syria right through the first 3 days of the truce. It never had much of a chance. Syria accepted it only conditionally, and some of the rebel groups, and there are lots of those, rejected it altogether.
Once you're done editing, you can either drag it over to the in-queue to share with everyone in the studio, or you may right-click on the item and click on Dispatch to send it to multiple preset locations all at once. You also have the options to tweet your text files or podcast your audio clips. Sometimes items can be audio clips by themselves without any text, such as this one. If you click on it, you can do simple audio editing here in this single track editor, where you can reposition the waveforms, zoom in and zoom out to easily crop out a single pop or a noise. Or you can remove unwanted sections or apply audio effects like normalization, fade-ins and fade-outs to your clip. However, we do also have a multi-track editor built in Burli for more serious audio editing. It is very useful for creating multi-layer audio projects with overlapping dialogue, music, effects, and background music. You can do unlimited number of tracks, full audio editing, volume controls, preset effects, and so forth. You can also record sound directly with Burli, or you may pull one of the existing audio clips online or from a local hard drive onto these tracks. And then you can either edit or arrange these blocks in whichever way you prefer by dragging them. Like you might want to fade in and fade out the background music, and then lower the volume of it while the speaker's voice is active. Towards the end, you might also want to turn the volume of the background music back up to its original setting, and then let it slowly fade out.
It just gave us the momentum and the drive that we needed to know that we can do anything if our backs are against the wall. So when we're in the driver's seat and we're up 3-0, we're looking to make a statement there.
Here's another simulated talk show scenario where you have a bunch of intertwining dialogues with background music that fades along with a plotting sound effect.
we don't point fingers at anybody in particular.
Definitely not, you know.
We just couldn't get runs. They just got
We've operated since I've been here, and that's
team at the wrong time.
We're up 3-0. You know, we're looking to,
And, you know.
When you're managing more than a handful of audio blocks like what we have here, it might be helpful to group them as you're trying to sync the voices with the music or the sound effects without having to move them one by one tediously. With a sophisticated built-in multi-track editor, you're fully capable of producing a newscast or an interview with ease that will sound very professional on air. Now moving on to scripts. In Burli, any ordered collection of stories is called a script. This can be a news bulletin, sportscast, rundown, or even a business report if you wish. Basically, journalists can work in this area like they do in their work folders. They can either type up a story here or drag and drop one of the stories from their work folders. They can place audio files into these news stories exactly where they want them to be played. When they're finished compiling, the script will be shared within the network. When it is approved by the chief editor, the news anchor will simply read off the prompter screen during a live or pre-recorded session in the studio. And this is what the news anchor sees inside the studio, the script in the prompter mode. Notice that the news would always begin with a short piece of music, and you can do that with Burli too. And the news anchor would start off by greeting the audience and then read the news lead-ins. The Canadian Hurricane Center says Ontario may see the worst of Sandy when it hits in less than 2 days. Now, click on one of these buttons to play the pre-recorded audio clip of another reporter elaborating on this piece of news.
The Canadian Hurricane Center says while rainfall amounts are still hard to predict, southern and eastern Ontario could see between 50 and 100 millimeters late Monday and early Tuesday. The center says those areas will also see high winds, although they will not likely hit hurricane strength. Sandy is currently moving northward over the Bahamas and is expected to continue to track north while maintaining its hurricane strength. Forecasters also predict rainy and blustery conditions for Quebec and the Maritimes. Steve Fairbairn, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
Each of these buttons can be associated with a different output device, but right now the default is just my speakers. While the verbatim is being read by another reporter, you can set the screen to scroll automatically at a pace in sync with your comfortable reading speed. And of course, font size and style can be easily modified by the system administrator. Burli also features fast searching throughout its database. For instance, if you're searching for a specific story but don't know the source, simply activate the Burli Finder by pressing Ctrl and F on the keyboard. You can enter whichever piece of information you recall about the story you're looking for, like a keyword. For instance, if you want to look for stories that contain the word Canadian, type the word and hit search, and then Burli will show you all the matches in a jiffy. Burli has its own archive database for all materials, and the archive data can be stored in any network location. We have clients running Burli on a single PC without dedicated servers or any extravagant IT overhead, but it works perfectly fine for them as small radio stations. And quite on the contrary, Burli is also running in major broadcasting cooperations with multiple servers, and there are always dozens of online users in the studio, along with field reporters outside with their laptops running the web version of Burli. These two extreme examples should give you a good idea of how impressive Burli is in terms of scalability and dependability. But of course, most of our installations fall somewhere in between. As for system requirements, Burli is a 32-bit application that runs on standard Windows systems like Windows 7 and XP Pro. Please bear in mind that the latest Microsoft service packs and security updates should be in place prior to installation. Burli is protected by hardware keys, a hasp, so any workstation that intends to run Burli must have an open USB port. Also, Burli integrates with common GPIO hardware and software to allow external devices such as automation systems to control the prompter and audio playback in Burli, especially if you pre-record your newscasts and want them to be aired automatically. Lastly, this demo only covers a few out of many things you can do with Burli, But if you'd like to hear more about what you can benefit from using Burli, please visit our website at www.burli.com for more information, or feel free to contact one of us. We will be more than happy to assist you. Thank you for watching this video. We look forward to hearing from you.